Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Kate and I love all things makeup, beauty, skincare, and fun. Today we are going to be doing what feels like right now daunting task because I have oddly a lot of this shade in my collection, but we're going to be swatching all of the red makeup in my collection. This video is inspired by Betty Jean. I know that there's others. I think Khaki does this as well. That being said, I did not discover this through Khaki. I discovered it through Betty Jean. That being said, I can link both of them down below. I enjoy both of their channels. I found Khaki I think in the middle of last year, and I really enjoy her content. And Betty Jean I have been following for many years. Big fan of Betty Jean. So if you enjoy this type of content, if you enjoy the color red, if you are looking for some entertainment, I'd love it if you give this video a thumbs up. I'll also love it if you would subscribe to my channel down below. But without any further ado, let's go. Okay, so I said in the intro that this was going to be daunting. What I more so meant is that admittedly, like, cheeks and lips are not where the issue is going to lie so much. It's that I have a decent amount of red eyeshadow. It is one of my favorite colors to wear on my eyes. I also, as of late, have been really into a red blush. And so what's maybe not so great about this series is that it has informed me that I actually don't have that many red blushes. So now I feel almost justified in my quest for more red blushes. But we're going to start with lips, and we're going to do this on my arm, I think. Maybe my hand a little bit, but I think we'll start, actually maybe we'll start with the back of my wrist. Let me take my watch off so that we're not making a mess. All right, so I actually just did a lip declutter. If you haven't watched that video, it is on my channel right now. I got rid of a lot of lip liners and a lot of lipsticks, and a lot of what I got rid of was red, or anything for that matter that was like pretty bold, because the reality for me is that I'm wearing neutrals a lot. But I do have some remaining. So I have 3 lip liners, and then I have this one, which is technically a lip liner, but I use it on the eyes. I don't use them interchangeably, so if I designate something for the eyes, I won't fiddle faddle with it. This one is by LA Girl, and this is one of their Shockwave lip liners. This is in the shade Outrage. So that is that one. Stunning. I do have one red lip liner by ColourPop. This is in the shade Bossy. Also so stunning. I have 2 lip liners by Jaclyn Cosmetics, rest in peace. I have the shades Unwrap Me and Bow. So those are the 4 red lip liners that I kept. I got rid of everything else because the reality is I do not wear red lips super often. I have more red lipsticks than I do lip liners, for sure. So I have 2 again from that same collection with Jaclyn Cosmetics. I have the shades Unwrap Me and Bow. So go ahead and swatch both of these. So those are both of those shades swatched. We have 2 more liquid lipsticks in the shade red. This one is by Lunar Beauty, and this is in the shade Aphrodite of red. This is Aphrodite over here. So you have these have a little bit more of that berry tone to it, whereas this is more of like a very cherry red. Love. And then the last liquid lipstick I have in, of course, red is by Dior, and this is in the shade 999. Also a super stunning shade. It's very similar to Aphrodite, and it's also a really lovely formula. This one was gifted to me, so I did not pay for this one on my own, just for reference. I have 3 bullet lipsticks in the shade red. How many times am I going to say that? Do not take a shot. Every time I say this, every time I say red, do not take a shot unless it's water, because otherwise we're all going to be down for the count. The first one is by Glamlite, and this was in collaboration with Chucky. This is the Tiff shade, and it's a super dark and vampy red. I dare say it's almost kind of pushing like mauve-y territory, but I do think that this leans more red. The next one is by Tom Ford, and this is in the shade Lost Cherry. That one right here is Lost Cherry by Tom Ford. Absolutely stunning. The last red lip we have was also gifted to me. This is by YSL, and this is in the shade Unknown because I don't see a shade. Right next to that Tom Ford one, you can see, I shouldn't say it's a totally true red because this one definitely leans much warmer than this one. So this one almost gives like an orangey hue to it, but the reality is if you put that on with a red lip liner, it pulls very red. Okay, so we are going to move on to blushes, which I am jazzed about. So I do have a cream. This is from the Natasha Denona Bloom palette, an oldie but a goodie. And this is that shade right here. You can tell that mine is very well loved. This palette is very well loved, and I need to probably replace it in the near future. So that is that one right there. It has some depth to it, so I think that this one is absolutely stunning, and I think honestly could work on a variety of skin tones. I love this one, and honestly this is the formula that got me into cream blushes. The next red blush is actually newer in my collection. This is by Glamlite. This was in collaboration with Garfield, and this one is called Lasagna Life over here. This one is super pigmented. If you are somebody that has melanin in your skin, I think that this would be a beautiful option. If you are melanin deficient like myself, you're gonna want to go in with a light hand because that is the blush. I did do 2 swipes, but that's the blush. Also by Glamlite. This came out last Valentine's Day, so about a year ago actually, and this was in collaboration with Chucky. I don't know if this exact one is still available because I think they finally got some things figured out on their end in terms of being able to have 2 different colors in the palette. So mine came from their original launch where these 2 colors are exactly the same. Maybe not the best, but that's okay. And this one definitely leans a little bit more pinky. Like it definitely, you know, especially like comparatively to those, it looks like it's a bright pink, but I assure you it's red. The next one that we have is by Essence. This is the cost-effective option of the bunch, and I love this. This is in the shade Bold Heart, and I like this one because this is a pretty subtle formula. So if you're somebody that really likes to build up color, this could be a fabulous formula because it really is soft. If you're somebody that likes a super punchy blush, this is one of their more bold colors, and even then it's not crazy pigmented, but this is that one right there. I did do a couple swirls and then I did one swatch, but I think it's beautiful on the face. Again, I know that like comparatively, like to this one almost looks peach on camera, but rest assured on my face, this is red. This pulls red. We have a couple of blush palettes. The first one is by Patrick Ta. This is their Major Headlines blush palette. This was their first edition. And does it say? Yes, it's in the shade She's Vibrant. So this one definitely has like a little bit of a coral aspect to it, but nonetheless, when I wear this, it's giving red. It's giving red. So there is a cream, and I put that one right here, and then there's the powder, and I put that one right here. I love both of these. Of course, I wear them together. I find that this formula is also one that is really easy to blend, really easy to sheer out. That being said, you do want to go in with a lighter hand. It's not one of those formulas where if you go in with a heavy hand and you put it on your face, you're going to regret it. You're going to regret it. So I would go in with a lighter hand and then blend from there. And then the last cheek product that we have is from Blend Bunny. This is from their Juicy Cheek face palette. And the color that we're going to go into right here is Pulp, which is beautiful. I'm going to do 2 swatches. And so that is this one right here, Pulp by Blend Bunny. This is another one of those formulas similar to Patrick Ta, where you can shear it out. You just really want to make sure that you don't have too much product on your brush before you go in. So one of my favorite things to do when I'm working with a very pigmented powder blush formula is to tap it onto the back of my hand a little bit and kind of disperse that color, just the hair, so that you're not looking like Boo Boo the Fool. So these are all of our red blushes. This one really does look pink compared to all of them, but when I put it on my face, it pulls red. So I don't, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Weirder things have happened, but those are the cheeks. These are the lips. And now we're going to go into the eyes. Okay, we're going to start with Glamlite because I have a lot of Glamlite palettes and a lot of them, oddly enough, include red. So we're going to start there. We're going to first start with this palette by Icy, in collaboration with Icy. This is their Cherry palette. And as you can see, literally every shade in here, except for the white, is red. So we're going to start here. So this is what the palette looks like. And now we can get into swatching. So that is the entire palette. That is the entire palette swatched out. Beautiful. I will say this is a couple years old. I think this came out in, golly, 2021 or 2022. So it's a little bit of an older palette, not of course like super old, but a little bit older. And Glamlite is one of those companies that I feel gets better and better with time, and even a baseline, their good is like better than a lot of mainstream brands. Great. So love this. The next one we're going to go into is this one by Glamlite. This is their Strawberry Shortcake Berrylicious palette. And this one has a couple. Actually, does it only have one? I thought this had more reds. Who knew? But at any rate, so it looks like there's really just the one. And I'm curious, I guess, to see how it swatches. I mean, terrible swatch, but it does, it pulls a little bit pinky, but I think it definitely is like in good company among the reds. I think that that's definitely more of a red, in my opinion, than a pink. I think if we paired it with something more pink or purple leaning, we could like make it, we could disguise it as a pink, but in my opinion, definitely red. Next, in collaboration with A Nightmare on Elm Street, this Lenticular Motion. It came with two. There's a red and a green. Obviously, we're going in with the reds because there's plenty of them in here. This is what the palette looks like. Absolutely stunning. So the first one is Chest of Souls. This will just kind of go down the arm here. The next red in here is Dream Warrior. This one looks stunning. So there is Dream Warrior. The next one is almost a little pinky looking, or leaning, I should say. And this one is called Nightmare. Yeah. It's super pretty. I love the like orange and pink in here. The next one we have, oh my gosh, the next one we have is Midnight. This one is like so loosely packed. Like, let's just, whoa. Can we go all the way around? Probably. So that is that one shade. And then the last red in here is more of a maroon, but nonetheless we'll include it in, this is in the shade Terror. So this one, honestly, we'll just pop her right here. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit more purple, I think. It is so interesting to like see all these reds next to each other, because it's like, I feel like we look at something and we're like, oh, that's definitely this color. And then when you compare it, it just kind of shows us how our eyes can kind of play tricks on us or perceive something one way without context. Sticking with the horror theme, we have this one. This is the Crazy in Love palette with Glamlite and Chucky. And this one, honestly, the gag of it all is that a lot of these are very like purple leaning. So I think really the only reds we have are these two. And we're gonna try to go over here maybe. So that's Charles E. Ray. It almost doesn't look red like at all next to the other ones. And then Till Death Do Us Part, although now that I'm like swatching it, that's definitely purple and not red. Yes. So interesting though, because last year when this came out, I felt like it was red. But now that I'm swatching it next to all these other reds, I'm like, those aren't red. Those are brown and purple, but nonetheless. We also have this Big Kahuna from Glamlite. This is an oldie, but a goodie. This is quite old, actually. Like, look at this. Look at how camp's so cute. This is a true rainbow palette. And there are a couple of red shades in here. Interestingly enough, this shade right here is called Peach, but I would definitely say that's more red. We're gonna swatch it. So the first one, of course, is Red Velvet. And this is like Exhibit A. Like, this is one of Glamlite's first palettes. This was like 5 years ago. Crazy. And then we'll go in with Peach, even though the name is, of course, Peach and not red, but we'll just see. It's definitely red, right? Like, comparatively, it's definitely red. Sure, it has some like warm and like a little bit more leaning towards orange, but it's definitely red. It is a standalone red. Okay, our last red Glamlite palette is another oldie. Look at this little cutie. This is their Red Velvet palette. So cute. And this one, again, I think this was one of their Valentine's Day releases. This one admittedly only has this one red shade, and it's called Red Velvet, which is ironic because the whole palette itself is called Red Velvet and there's one red shade, but that's okay. So I guess we'll just do on my wrist. Look at that though. That's like a beautiful red. I love this type of shade where it's like cool toned, true blood red. Love. So those are the Glamlite palettes, which a lot of the reds are going to come from Glamlite. So I think we're actually in an okay space in terms of running out of room. I'm just gonna pull out the next batch and I'll be right with you. Okay, so we have 2 palettes from Natasha Denona that have reds. The first one is, of course, her Love palette, one of my favorite palettes from her. That being said, there's literally only this one red shade and it's called Heart. Nonetheless, I do love this shade and I love Natasha Denona's formula. So I'll do it right here. So that right there is Heart. Has a little bit more depth and a little bit more like that grungy-esque tone than this one here from the Glamlite palette. Beautiful. The other palette that has a red in it is the Zendo palette from Natasha Denona. So this is what this palette looks like. Stunning. And it really does have just the one red shade and it is in the shade Vigor. So we did this one. We'll do this one right next to it because it's Natasha Denona. Pretty similar. Pretty similar. It almost has like a little bit of a burnt hue to it, a little bit more earthiness to it than the other one, and certainly both of these have a little bit more earthiness and rust than some of those really bright poppy ones from Glamlite. But that being said, the themes of the palettes are not meant to be like poppy bright red. I have a one-off from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and oh, I just love this palette. This is in collaboration with Jackie Aina, and you will have to pry this palette out of my cold dead hands. There's only one red shade, and it's this one right here called Wigglies, and this palette is old. She's an oldie, but a goodie. And that one is right there. That's after like, golly, when did this come out? 6-7 years ago. Still swatching like that. So good, so good. There's only, again, there's only the one red shade in here. The rest are either like too pinky, too brown, but still a stunning palette. Oldie but a goodie. Okay, so a lot of the palettes here on out are going to be kind of one-offy. So we have one from Lunar Beauty, and this is unfortunately discontinued, and this is his Moonspell Volume 2. This is what this palette looks like. Beautiful with several red shades sprinkled in. This palette got a lot of flack from people saying that they didn't like it as much as Volume 1. I do like this one just as well. So the first one that we're going to swatch is Freya. Again, true beautiful red. The next one is Willow. A little bit deeper, still stunning. Unfortunately, that palette only has 2 reds, but still beautiful. Still beautiful. Again, Glamlite is really like where the bulk of the reds are, because I feel like for some reason they do, and also I felt like I thought like some of their palettes were a little more red than they were, but nonetheless. The next red we're going to move on to is by Melt. This is their Gemini 2 palette. So this is what this one looks like. And realistically, if we're talking like reds, the only true red is this one right here. And that's called Lovesick. Like it's a very soft, romantic, red leaning palette. But in terms of like being like actually red, like, and even that one has like a little bit of brown to it. But it's definitely red. It's definitely red. And like I feel like once you get it on the eyes next to the other colors, it pulls just like a very deep romantic red. We have one palette from Nomad Cosmetics that has several reds because it has two different sides. So this is what the more romantic red side looks like. So we do have quite a few here. And originally when I got this palette, I was not having this hard press pan issue. But now I'm getting a little bit of like hard pan, so I do have to deal with that. But I still really enjoy Nomad and their formulas. In terms of red, the first one is called Rose. It has a little bit more pink to it, but I guess I want to mostly swatch it for comparison. Oh yeah, I do see that that's pink. The next shade is called Love. Yeah, see, that's like a much more red comparatively. We have this red shimmer called Romeo, and I'm hoping that the swatch is okay. But again, oh yes, that's fine. Look how pretty. It has like that very soft red base, but like incredible shimmer. The next one we have is Light. I'm curious as to like how this stacks up. Yeah, so the top one there from the same palette right here has a little bit more orange. Next one we have is Comedy. And again, I'm really having to go in there. I got to get some tape and deal with the hard pan issue. But that one is also stunning. A little bit more punchy than that first one, but both beautiful. And then the last shade is more of a maroon. So we're not going to swatch that one because I feel like we already, like it's going to pull, I think. Maybe we will swatch it just for giggles. Do it over here in a terrible way. Interestingly though, it is pulling almost a little more red than that Melt one. Interesting. I'm glad we did swatch it because it definitely is red. We have 3 different palettes from Odin's Eye that have reds in them. The first one is their Hey Reindeer palette, and admittedly it's only one shade, but it's this one right here, and this is called Mistletoe. And admittedly all of the red shades that I have from them, I guess we'll do my palm. There is Mistletoe, are in their Christmas palettes. Also worth noting, all of the reds from, I shouldn't say all, but 2 out of the 3 I would say are definitely more muted from Odin's Eye. The next one is in this one. This is their Snow Dream palette. So the next red shade is going to be called Guests, and it's right here. I think this one has a little bit more depth. I'll just swatch it right next to it. Yeah, a little bit more vibrancy rather. Maybe not so much depth. And then last but not least, this is their Merry Christmas palette. And this one also has 1 red. The others still beautiful though. I think out of the 3 I almost like this one the best out of that Snow Dream palette, which is kind of funny because I feel like that palette doesn't really give red, does it? I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I did miss some reds from Melt. I totally forgot because these are just the way they stored. This kind of got lost in the sauce, but this is their Christmas Town palette in collaboration with The Nightmare Before Christmas. So this is what the palette looks like. So there's 2 reds in here. The first one is much lighter and it is called Sandy Claus. I guess we'll just keep the trend going. Swatching my hand. So right here is Sandy Claus, and then the next one, I'm pretty sure this leans more purple. Yes, it does. And it's called Nightmare. So I'll just do like a little finger swatch of that one. But do you see, I don't know if you guys see it too, but comment down below. Doesn't this one look red? Like next to this one and next to these, it looks red. But then when you swatch it, that's purple. So it's just, that shade gets me every time. But I have 2 palettes from Unearthly Cosmetics, another one of my favorite brands. They have reds. The first one is Don't Be Jelly, probably one of my favorite palettes from them in general. This is what the palette looks like. Stunning, and it only has 1 red shade, and it is called Coral. But despite that name, I feel like it's not very coral. Well, although, doesn't that look much more like peachy leaning than some of these other reds? Beautiful nonetheless. And then finally, from Unearthly. This is their Strawberry Milkshake palette. This is what this one looks like, and we just have the one red shade here called Cherry on Top, which, if I do say so, stunning. Let's see if I can find a spot. Just perfect. It's like a very beautiful cherry color. Okay, we are finally down to our final palettes. This is what our hand is looking like. An absolute disaster of red. But I feel like, I mean, this is a lot of red eyeshadow, right? So like a lot of red eyeshadow, but I feel like there's other colors that I definitely have more of. So I think I might have like built this up in my mind to be bigger than it is. From ColourPop, I had a red palette, but I recently decluttered it. So the only ones from ColourPop that I have with red in it anymore is this one, and it is their Fade into Hue. It's a rainbow palette. So it literally only has this one red shade here, and that is called Paradise. So that is Paradise by ColourPop. Last but certainly not least, we have the Machina palette from Blend Bunny, and this has a couple of reds in here that are just simply stunning. So we're going to swatch out the two reds. The more bright one is called Burn. Blend Bunny just has like one of the best formulas in the world. So there is Burn. So pretty. And then the other one is called Human. That is me swatching all of the red. All of the red that I have in my collection, which feels like a lot. It feels like a lot, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Red is one of my favorite colors to wear on my eyes. And so in that way, I kind of thought that I had more red shadows, or more shadows that had that color, had the color red in it. But that is it. I feel like it is a lot. It is a lot. The swatching I think felt like a lot, but I think in terms of like having a lot of red shades, I really don't think I have too many. I have enough. You know, I have like, by no means do I need more red shadow, but I love red shadow, so the likelihood that more will join the collection is pretty high. But let me know down below, do you have any of these palettes? What are your favorite brands in terms of red shadows or red blushes? I've been humbled. My eyes have been opened, and I now realize that I really could get more red blushes into my collection without it being a problem. So please let me know down below, what red blushes are you loving right now, and which one should I try? Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would love it so much if you would subscribe to my channel down below. As always, please stay happy, stay healthy, and stay blessed, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.